Hello. Yeah. The time has finally come to look at my favorite thing going in comics right now, and that is Super Sons. For those of you not in the know, when the DC timeline got a sort of merger, sort of reboot after the failure of certain characters' New 52 versions, including Superman's New 52 version, which wasn't really embraced by the public. The insane sort of crossover slash merger slash reboot thing, merging of the timelines happened called Rebirth, and I am not even going to get into that. Ugh. I stopped reading the New 52 years ago, so I'm not up on everything that was happening. I do know that in that timeline, Batman ended up with a son, and I'm not going to get into how he ended up with that son. Let's just say they didn't go with the simplest explanation of Bruce Wayne being a playboy. I don't know if that would have been too easy. He has a son, Damian, but he ended up with a son, Damian, who had been raised by the League of Assassins and is now the current Robin, leader of the Teen Titans, and thanks to being raised by a murderous cult, has a bit of a bad attitude, but as you'll see, he's still a kid. And thankfully, Lois and Clark's marriage was restored, and they have a 10-year-old son, Jonathan. Still 11-year-old son, Jonathan, who is Superboy in the new timeline. And unlike other titles like Renew Your Vows, which I'll be getting into, which we'll be returning to that, and I'll be letting you know some of my faults on that, and Spider-Girl or other things, like you get most of the time in the comics, this isn't some far-off future event, nor does it take place in an alternate universe. No, this growth and aging of the characters has been fit in organically with the characters as they currently exist. And yeah, it helps with the older characters, and it's given the most fun comic book I've read in years. You want to know how this all go? You want to see what makes it so good? Well, then let's go right in and look at it. I like this cover. It could now probably be more dynamic if there was some sort of action or something, and it wasn't just a yellow background. But for getting the point across about what this book is, it does the job. Very well for a first issue. You have Batman and Superman in the background, and then you have Robin on his hover bike and Superboy leaping into the air, all with the pleasing Super Sons logo and everything. So yeah, that works. The story opens with a prologue of a family sitting in a living room, enjoying themselves, and well, there seems to be a kid they all seem to be out to please this kid, and then he's really insistent on
group hugs and insists that they're the closest family ever. We then cut we then cut to now, which is Superboy and Robin running through woods of some kind, being shot at with lasers. And I'll be putting some of the dialogue in here because a lot of this comic's charm comes from how well written and just kid-like the dialogue is. It's not dumbed down, kids. This is supposed to be 11 and a 13-year-old after all. Superboy is the younger one at 11 years old. Robin is 13. What kind of mess did you get us into? I gave you all the pertinent information on the situation. You know full well what we were getting into. What are you talking about? You lied to me. Not true. I simply didn't tell you everything. There's too many of them. Dial it back and get control of yourself. Put me down. We're done running. It's time for Robin and Superboy to take a stand. Why's your name first? I'm older. I'm taller. Shut up! And this is what I love. I love Peter J. Tomasi's writing on both Superman and this. And I'm hoping he's being replaced by Brian Michael Bendis, who I am so scared who, because of his track record, I am so scared is going to either have Lois raped or have Jonathan killed or both, and they'll cancel this book. Because the only two stories Brian Michael Bendis knows how to tell, there are three stories he knows how to tell. One where the hero is replaced by someone younger and edgier, so that would mean he's getting rid of Superman. And he's been given complete creative control over both Superman books, and he's promised a major shakeups, including completely changing Superman's origin story. And, but he has the hero replaced by somebody newer and edgier. A female hero gets raped and deals with the fallout, or a female hero loses a child, and ends up flipping out over that. He only knows how to write women who are traumatized to the point where they don't have any control over themselves. So I'm so scared he's going to have Lois either raped or lose Jonathan because he dies, or both. But that's another problem. But that's another conversation for it. But I guess I just had a full conversation. But all I'm saying is, please, 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 DC, don't screw this up. Do not let John Michael Bendis. Do not let Brian Michael Bendis have too much creative control here. Also, I gotta give a shout out to George Jamez for his artwork. It is perfect on every page. And I like Superboy's suit that's distinct from Superman's. It looks like something a kid threw together, and in fact it is. The cape is actually something Superman got him, but the shirt is actually just a shirt he found in the Goodwill, and it's just an old pair of jeans that he only wears on superhero stuff because, well, they're so beat up and ripped up, it doesn't matter if they get ripped up by supervillains anymore. So anyway, we go back to 2 days earlier. Hamilton County, 300 miles from Metropolis. At this point, the Kents are living on a farm, and Lois seems to be working remotely using the internet. So that's a realistic depiction, and they do give it a realistic feel to the country. It's not too remote, but it's not too close either. They don't seem to have gone over the top with it. Jonathan, aka Superboy, is getting on the school bus, and as you can see, there seems to be something wrong with his bus driver. He's talking to Kathy, who's a girl who lives on the closest farm to his house, and there are some kids having spitball fights, normal stuff. they're bullying the kid. Jonathan goes to break it up, but he just gets spitballed on, and then the bus driver tells him to knock it off. Trouble is, he wants to stand up for people, but he can't use his superpowers. That is something Jonathan in the Superman book struggles a lot with, is not being able to use his powers. And so we're cut to recess. They're having a snowball fight, and then some of the bullies start putting rocks into snowballs. I'm sorry, I just remembered the time. Everyone on my block did that once when I was a kid, and we had this big snowstorm. And just remember, it didn't go on for long. Yeah, people were getting, yeah, no, everyone just stopped putting rocks. Again, Jonathan nearly gets mad, and he nearly uses his heat vision, but then a giant snowball falls off the roof and hits the bullies before he can do it. He sees what looks like the bus driver on the roof, which is weird. He then runs behind the building and sees the bus driver. It says, "What are you doing at my school?" "I was bored. I wanted to see how the other half lives." And how do I live, Damien?" Yes, it's as you can see, it's Robin in disguise, Damian Wayne, and oh boy, he's a handful sometimes. "Not sure yet, but I did get to put some hurt on some bullies." "Don't you have classes back in Gotham, or do Robins even need to go to class?" That's a good question. I've never been clear on just how does Robin do Robins go to school or whatever. They always seem to be free to fight villains. "I'm homeschooled." Well, that answers that. "Remember him? You faked being my substitute teacher during third period? You're 13 and had the nerve to make up all that stuff and teach earth science to an entire class?" "Oh, I have more than nerve, John, and I didn't make anything up. I could have had a doctorate in geology at 7 years old." Why don't you?" "Because my mother killed my professor and dumped him in the ocean." "Well, that'll happen when your mother is like an assassin, evil, cult person thing." And when did you start driving?" "Huh? 8. 5, actually." "I don't think getting on that bus with you driving is a good idea." "Why? Why's that? I got you to school, didn't I?" "Rules say you have to be 16 to..." "Rules. All aboard. Sorry I'm late. Find your seat, kid." We then cut to Gotham City at Wayne Manor, where that night while Damien is practicing, he jumps over Alfred, and he's looking forward to going out on patrol with Bruce, but Bruce is mad that he didn't do his schoolwork, didn't do all his homework, and Damian points out that he's ahead of that grade level, but Batman insists that he does it, so as punishment he leaves him behind while he goes on patrol. Meanwhile, everybody's having a nice family night in, and I don't know why more comic book writers want to. I don't know why so many comic book writers want to do love triangles and stuff. I guess because this is harder to write and make it feel real. But this whole scene works, and it really feels like the home life Superman would make, and it feels just right for his character. In fact, this feels more right than Clark Kent leaving alone. It just seems to fit his character like a glove. And again, Brian Michael Bendis, I am done with DC Comics if you screw this up. So Superman on, I guess somebody's sending him a signal on. There's either a device, or maybe it's Or maybe it's that same frequency that Luthor used back in the first movie or something that only Superman can hear, but he gets a signal from the Justice League and he's got to go. Lois sends Jonathan up off to bed and he's in there only to find Damian still waiting. Oh, 9 p.m. bedtime is for Kitty. Are you nuts? I could have blasted you, and I would have dodged your blast and incapacitated you with a well-placed kick to the solar plexus. Well, I would have dodged your kick and knocked you out with a left hook. Is that so? Yeah, that's so. Jonathan, everything okay? Yeah, just forgot to turn the volume down on my laptop. Bedtime, remember? Shutting it. Now, good night. Night, Mom. And this interplay between the characters, this is what makes the book so good. This and the storyline and the fun storylines are what make the book so good. What are you doing back here? Since your father's home away from home is Metropolis, I decided to let you in on an investigation in progress. You did? There's been assorted break-ins and hacking attempts into LexCorp facilities. So, what's your name? It's Jonathan Kent, and you know it. No, it's Superboy, and that means it's time to forget going to bed on time and to be super. There, cut to Metropolis. I can't believe you still can't fly. I haven't developed that power yet. There it is. Just climb on, and piggyback, and I'll leap across. I've managed to move across cities and landscapes without your assistance long before you had an S on your chest. Let's go. We're going to get in a lot of trouble. Will you shut up? Horrible weather for breaking and entering. Can I help you boys with something? And that's Lex Luthor, who seems to have a Superman suit, and I'm not 100% sure what his deal is because I haven't gotten a chance to read every single issue of Superman in Action comics since Rebirth. So don't ask me what's going on, but it seems to be bad. And this issue ends.
This issue is okay. It's not as you can see, it doesn't really have any plot or even action in it. So it could have used more of those 2 points. It's clearly just a starting point for a story. It's more of a prologue than anything else. The whole issue is a prologue, not just those 2 pages, really. However, it does do a good job of letting us know who our characters are going to be for the rest of the book's run. And I happen to like this kind of slower burn start type where we get to know our characters so that when we're thrust into the action, we know what's going on. And David and Jonathan genuinely do have some of the most fun banter, and it feels like real kids talking, and I like the fact that they established the different family dynamics of the Wayne and Kent families, and they show how those 2 play off each other, and how these 2 really competitive friends play off each other. So yeah, it doesn't really have any plot or action, but save for that brief flash forward. But because its banter is so well done, and because the artwork is just so great to look at, and it just has a great feel to it overall, I'm giving it 6.5 out of 10. We'll be coming back to Super Sons, of course, and we'll see what all this is building up to.